Okay. Good evening, everyone. I now call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll now ask for a moment of silence for those that are missing in action and prisoners of war. Thank you. Secretary Billups, can we please have a roll call?
Yes. Secretary Billups is here. Counselor Minnick is excused. Counselor Wagner. Here. President Tunis.
Here.
Counselor Banto.
He's on his way.
Thank you. Counselor Brannis.
Here.
Counselor Andrusko.
Excused.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Wentz.
Here.
Counselor Silva.
Here.
Counselor Blackwell. Here. And our Honorable Mayor Ed Brown, I believe is excused.
Yes, the mayor's
Okay.
excused.
Thank you. We have our CAO Crandall Jones. We have Solicitor Jim Gallagher. We have our Chief Municipal Clerk Kate Doggett. And we have, who's back there? Officer Bateman and Radar and Monahan. And we have our department heads that are here. And of course, we have all of you, the residents of Upper Darby. Hi, guys. Happy spring.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. Council members, before going to rules of meeting decorum, I'll just ask if we can just let every speaker speak. We have more than the time allotted. So the rules, Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of the business of the meeting. Any person who attends the meeting and makes remarks, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting after receiving a verbal warning may be required to leave the meeting at the discretion of the council president. Public forum should not exceed 30 minutes. If a resident chooses to ask questions, they are voluntarily giving up their time for a response. This means that the 3-minute timer will continue to run no matter who is speaking. The timer will be clearly displayed on the screen to my left. Secretary Billups.
Yes. First, we have Shelley Hoyt. Just turn my phone down.
Hello. First, thank you for putting the sign-in sheet outside. It's much less congested there. I wrote this 4 weeks ago before my surgery, so it's still relevant, but not everybody is here. I'm going to start off with, we're just a stepping stone. You ruined the school district, now you're ruining the township. What next? State rep or Senate to ruin southeastern Pennsylvania? A smug, self-centered, narcissistic, pompous ass. You had the audacity to say that you will demand respect, but you have not shown us any. This group of residents try to tell you in council the correct way to do an ordinance, and you refuse to listen. Very few of you have read the Home Rule Charter. You dare tell the residents at council meeting that we are suing the township and council, and we are costing the township for the lawsuits. We paid out of our own pockets to sue to get things done correctly and legally. That said, council did not vote in favor of the new solicitor. He is worse than Kilkenny. Do you really hate Upper Darby Township this much? The 5 candidates that sent in the resumes for the 5th district, I know for a fact 3 of the candidates would be awesome for the 5th. Not only were they not all interviewed, 2 got an email from Doggett. It's tacky. You want McNeely because he's another puppet. 3 of those candidates would vote for the people, something this administration refuses to do. Mr. Tunis, you can't control a simple meeting, trying to selectively arrest those that disagree with you and not those causing the problems. I've been watching from home. And Mr. Jones, really? You believe you're worth over $200,000 for what? Just to tax and spend our hard-earned money? How many vacant shops do we have in this township? And how many smoke shops do we have? Department heads, what do they do? L&I has third-party inspectors, which I know was the last administration's installation. But still, the residents have to do the work, send pictures of the jobs, yet charges these licenses are outrageous and Upper Darby L&I doesn't even do their own inspections. Ed's administrative assistant got her position by threatening council members, physically threatening residents in the Keffer administration, and her reward was the mayor's assistant, yet you kept her on. Cut the fat from the top, not the hardworking men and women of this township. They care because they live here.
Thank you. Next is John Bazari.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just a couple things I want to go over. So I have a question around EMT services and want to know why there was no notification to the residents that there would be limited coverage, that apparently on April 13th, there was limited coverage to cover the township. And is Stat Medical Transport the final solution for coverage going forward? I'd appreciate if there's an update on this during, I don't need you to answer right now, but if it's an update that could be given during the meeting, I'd appreciate that. The website, the new parking system, which is supposed to be implemented on May 1st with a new vendor, outside of it being on the website, which is buried, and on Facebook, that not everyone subscribes to the township page, how are you communicating this change? Just want to make sure that residents aren't confused. I know it says there'll be new signage, things like that, but I know one day I went to go pay for parking and it came up that that location was not available. So I don't know if I was outside at the time that I needed to pay, but just want to make sure people are made aware of it and that it's clearly communicated. The community center, based on the agenda, it appears that Beverly Hills Recreation Area is the proposed site for the community center. There are a few reasons why that this is not the most convenient option. Primarily, the township will be taking away a large parcel of open space. Marshall Road is a one-way road and therefore limited access, and limited access via public transportation. One public transportation going down that street. Oh, what's that? No, you've got.
I was saying there's a 109 bus stop at the beginning of Marshall Road.
Okay, well, SEPTA only said 107 is coming up on Marshall Road. Fifth District replacement, I expected to see on the agenda for tonight, that on the agenda tonight, so I'm surprised it's not. When can we expect you to appoint the elected constable who either could not pass the test to perform their duties or had to take it multiple times? And then status on the solicitor. We're now 3.5 months into Kilkenny's resignation and still paying taxpayer dollars to this firm that has cost this township unnecessary expenses. When can we expect a resolution on choosing a new solicitor that will not be a duplicate or even worse than Kilkenny? And Councilors Billup and Banto, I know he's not right here right now. I trust that if the same candidate is voted on again, that your vote will remain as your March 19th vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Becky Duggan.
Becky Duggan, good evening. So something I come to all these meetings, as you all well know. Something I like to talk about a lot, well, actually not like to, but I do talk about a lot, is public safety and the security and safety of our children and on the streets. Just this past week, there have been 2 overturned vehicles that I am aware of, one on Morgan and one on Clover. Now, it's going to be warm out. Kids are on spring break this week. It's going to be nice and warm outside. Kids are going to be outside playing. Do we want our streets to be somewhere where our kids can't play outside? Do we have to put like bollards up or whatever they're called, the concrete barriers up on the sidewalks to protect our children? I mean, we need to do something for traffic calming. I know nobody likes to talk about it. You know, they put a nice, on my neighborhood on Parkview, they put that circle that is just ridiculous because you could just go straight around it. You don't have to go around it, you can just go straight. It doesn't do anything. It's not going to stop anybody that's intent on speeding. All it does is make it more dangerous to people who are trying to go around it and you can't see up the street who's coming down. It's very necessary that we do something about the outrageous driving, reckless driving, careless driving in our neighborhoods. I mean, these are not highways that are 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. I mean, they're little side streets. And a car turns over on a side street? We need to have more police. We do, because we need to have enough police for answer calls for service as well as patrolling for traffic. I think it's a very necessary and vital thing for the safety of everybody, but especially the children that are going to be outside. I don't have kids, but I see the people, you go to Highland Park in the morning and, kids trying to cross the street. Now there's crossing guards. Unfortunately, parents drop their children off, not at the line. They drop them off on the side on Lynn Boulevard and have them cross wherever. We need to do something. It's just not right. Is there anybody who can give me any information about is there any information about any traffic calming that we've been considering?
Ms. Duggan, superintendent is here if you want to talk to him one-on-one. I do know we have a traffic calming policy that residents can request, but as far as the plans, I would just refer to the superintendent.
He'll be able to tell me how many patrols can be out monitoring traffic violations?
I can't speak for him, but I
Okay.
feel like that would be the best person to connect with you on this.
Okay, but we don't want to speak about it publicly, in a public forum. I got to talk to him privately, and I
No,
got to come back and report?
Your time is up, Ms. Duggan, but he can come back to a further meeting and we can put him on the agenda. Yeah.
Next is Judy Duggan.
Good evening, everyone. I have brought this up many times before. We are not a city. We are a township. And I go on the website and I click on the One Center and it takes me to this page. It says, View 311 City Map, City Directory, City Website. Like, we're not a city. Why is this on the website? In order for us to become a city, there has to be a referendum for the residents to vote on. It can't just be Mr. Jones decides that we're a city. So I wish you could change that to say township, because we're a township. We're not a city. There's significant differences there. The second thing I want to talk about is something else I've brought up several times, is the property on Westchester Pike and Linden, the burnt down property that burnt down a couple of years ago, over 2 years ago now. Can you tell me, anyone, what's going on with that at this point? I know they put a fence up, but I'm just wondering if there's anything else going on with that.
CEO, was that something you want to direct to Amrinder, our LNI?
Yes, I know he's been working on it. Mr. Singh is right there in the back of the room.
But again, like, I'm not the only one that cares. So this is why I bring it up. Not everybody in the township can come. So everybody in the township would like to hear an answer to that. Not everybody, because you guys obviously don't care. But other people live around there care. I know you care, Michelle. I didn't mean everybody. And I know Danielle cares.
Would you like to give some of your time to Mr. Singh?
Love to give him some of my time.
Okay.
Thank you. The property in question, 8816 Westchester Pike, they have installed a safety fence around the property, and they have applied for permits to do the demolition. They have also applied for permits to do the rebuild, and I can share with you tomorrow morning what the status is. I know we've issued the permits on our end. I'm not sure if the contractor has come in to pay for the permits and pick them up, but I can definitely give you an update on that tomorrow morning.
Okay, and can I ask you one other question
Sure.
about, I understand that there was a lawsuit that was brought against them and then was dropped recently. Can you speak about that?
I have no information regarding that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah, so if we can change the website so it doesn't say city, because we're not a city, it does make a difference actually in a lot of things that we do. So I'd appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joanne Namavag.
Hey, Joanne Namavang. This is just a quick one. I know this is probably PennDOT, but I want to see if you guys can maybe figure out how we can get it addressed. We've talked about this before, like the buckling of the roads, and I'm speaking specifically now. I brought your attention last year to 69th Street at Chestnut, but like State Road at Lansdowne Avenue. There is like a hill probably this high on the side of the road because the tires have pressed it down because obviously the materials are inferior. So I'm just concerned as we approach summer and the weather is going to get hot, it's going to melt more. So I understand, like I said, these are probably PennDOT responsibilities, but what can we do as far as a township to address those things? Because it's not safe.
Yeah, would you like me to
Yes,
respond?
please.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Joanne.
That's fine. No
For that,
worries.
I believe this has been an ongoing issue since I've been on council.
Uh.
And you are right, you did bring this to our attention last year. I think the best way I would like to approach it is I'm going to ask the public safety, hate to put you on the spot now. I'll also email you this. If we can put together information and work with the administration to reach out to our state reps, because she's bringing up an issue that's a lot bigger than just what she's stating. It even affects the sewers, like on Marshall Road, right?
Right.
Where we can do the sewers on our streets, but we can't do the ones on Marshall Road. So if there's something we can do and bring it back to the May 7th meeting, with an update on where we are with State Rep Boyes and Curry's office, as well as State Senator Tim Kearney, because I feel like if we take a collective approach,
Yeah.
it can probably get more eyes on it.
And maybe if somebody could just do like a drive-through, like when your township trucks are going around, like just kind of like sort of keep a log of where are the area, where the problems are, because like you said, it's going to affect not only the sewers, not only the streets, but it's going to buckle. It could do something to the sidewalks too. Like I'm not a mechanical person. I'm not that kind of a person, but I just know like there's gullies but there's probably all over the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Elaine Weaver.
Hi, Elaine Weaver. I'm just coming back up here. Number one, Hafiz, if you could please, when you're reading the rules of decorum, could you please try to remind yourself that it's concerned persons, not Upper Darby residents? Okay, all concerned persons can come speak here. 2 weeks ago, we had a gentleman from Lansdowne who came up and spoke about a problem that he was experiencing at his property because it borders Penn Pines. And Penn Pines happens to be Upper Darby Township, but he came up here not as a resident, as a concerned person, as he should have. My next thing I want to talk about is I want to ask about the tanker truck that is still sitting in the sanitation yard that holds the diesel fuel for the trucks. Okay, I believe, Danielle, this is your district. And the problem is it's leaking bad. It's got flat tires. It's been refilled again. A big truck comes from somewhere, a Cardinal truck comes from God knows where and refills this tank for the diesel trucks, for the sanitation workers. I understand they need some kind of a holding tank for the diesel, but this is not an appropriate truck. Okay, it's leaking bad and it's parked on top of a sewer. Again, that sewer, the most direct body of water is Nailers Run. And I think it's a serious problem and needs to be addressed. It really does. It needs to be looked at.
I'm sorry. To respond, would you like the CAO to respond to your question?
Go ahead.
Actually, I'll ask Chief Boyce if he'll come up and respond, because after you brought it to our attention, we did ask him as the emergency management director for the township to
Great.
go and evaluate the site. And
Okay.
they did.
Okay, it's not safe. And go ahead. Thank
How
you.
are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
So I went and I didn't and look at the tank. I found no leaking.
I have pictures. I'll show you.
There is residual from the men filling the trucks up, but the truck itself is not leaking.
Okay, but what's all of the sludge that's on top of?
Yeah, well, Chief,
What's all of the sludge that's over that's in the buckets?
That is the catch when there's a system in place, when they fill up the trucks, they slide the catch that has absorbent in it. They fill up the truck, anything that comes out, that drips off the end of the capsule, that's what
So
that
after it
catch is.
rains and everything and it overflows those buckets, where does it end up? On the roadway, right?
No, they're slid back in under the truck, but the truck itself is not leaking. I looked at the regulations for a mobile transfer site. It's well within.
We
all
don't
the-
have a better system for a tank?
I-
That's not yours. Yeah, I got you.
Exactly.
I got
I
you.
examined the problem that you brought.
I
to the
appreciate it.
council, and I did.
Thank you.
The next morning, I.
Thank you.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Damasi.
Good evening. Real quick on the burned down building up on Westchester Pike. I don't know why Mr. Singh couldn't comment on this. Back on April 8th, charges were withdrawn against the owner of this building by the township. It was a complaint by his department back in September of last year. Mr. Singh, you should be aware of these things. Ms. Brannis, you voted yes on Mr. Clark as being the next solicitor while you were under consideration at a township where he was solicitor, and you did not disclose that, and I don't think Mr. Clark disclosed that to anyone. Did anyone here know that Ms. Brannis was up for a position where Mr. Clark was being considered for solicitor when you voted yes or no? I think.
That position, Mr. Damasi, is in code enforcement. I have nothing to do with the council or the solicitor.
And which is why we have so many people here from Norristown where Mr. Kilkenny is the solicitor. The solicitor obviously has no influence whatsoever. It is the appearance of impropriety that is important in ethics in public office. You should have disclosed that, but absolutely, you aside, absolutely, 100%, Mr. Clark and his people should have disclosed that, and they didn't. That is an ethical lapse. Mr. Jones, were you aware of this conflict of interest when Mr. Clark was here presenting as a potential solicitor?
I wasn't aware of that, but I'm also not saying that I see a conflict of interest.
Oh, well, okay. So if someone who has influence over a position then gets a yes vote for him to get a position, if you think that is not a conflict of interest, that makes it all the easier to file an ethics complaint against you and your accrediting organization. That is the fact that it was not disclosed, and Ms. Brannis did not disclose it and did not recuse herself, but absolutely 100% that he did not disclose. He is 100% not eligible for a solicitorship in Upper Darby. And if he does, if you like the lawsuits, you're going to love the ethics complaints that come with that. I would also like to add that I am still waiting on the answer to my right to know request appeal that was granted to me. I think it's 2025-0181. We're now at 15 days and counting. That's $7,500 fine for the township if I pursue this in court. I do not want to cost the township money. I'm asking for the documents, which ironically are about the mayor's charity, and he's not here to say anything. So I wonder why I'm not getting these documents, which the Office of Open Records has said I am entitled to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Olivia Taylor.
Olivia Taylor. First, I'm going to speak on last meeting. I was dealing with a cold and I left early. But on my way home, I turned the rest of the meeting on and just could not believe what I was hearing. YouTube, the mayor in Tunis, Dumb and Dumber, talking about what a good job you're doing. You know, you're going to, blowing smoke up each other's ass. First of all, you made the job as president hard, okay? Don Bonnet sat in that seat for 10 years. You know how he started the meeting? He was said first speaker. He didn't go into no decorum. You know that? You know why? Because he didn't violate people's right to speak. He didn't try to time council people voted for. How dare you sit up there and try to play the victim when you brung everything that's happening to you, you brung it on yourself. You brung this on yourself by trying to violate people's rights. So anything that was said after that, you caused it. Then you had the audacity to play the victim. That really pissed me off. And I want to say something to you, Laura. You didn't have to explain yourself to these people. They don't care about you. It was a heartfelt thing you did, but you don't have to explain yourself. They don't care about you. They've shown that. And the fact that, the cowboy-loving mayor couldn't be here tonight, just goes to question. I should have wore my Eagles jersey with my green hair, because see, that's how much of an Eagles fan I am. I'm just totally disgusted. And the song and dance that you did as far as the 5th district, you knew you was going to vote for McNeely. That was just a smokescreen. And then to do that to these people is absolutely disgusting. This is why the township is the way it is. This is why people are being violated. This is why cars are turning over. You want to raise our taxes, but you go down 69th Street, it's a damn roller coaster. Metal plates everywhere, trash everywhere. But you got the audacity to sit up there and vote. David, did you pay your taxes yesterday? April 15th was yesterday. Did you pay them? Okay, I'm going to check the record. Absolutely going to check the record. 16,000, you ain't paid nothing since 2011. You damn right I'm going to check. And you got nerve to sit your sorry behind over there and vote to raise somebody else's. You're disgusting as well. I'm done.
Thank you. Next is Maxwell McGrath.
Hello. I'd like to follow up on my comments from last meeting since I only have 3 minutes of free speech every 2 weeks. All right, so I'll speak quickly. I'd like to begin my remarks by asking the solicitor if there's a procedural or legal reason this earned income tax could not have been a public referendum. Yes, no, I don't know, or no comment. Please respect my time. Respect my time.
Then no comment.
Thank you. I ask this because when I search the Upper Darby E-code for the word referendum, I only find 2 results, both with the same language. I will read from subsection C701A3. Increases in the real property tax rate are limited to a maximum of 3 mills or 5% of the prior year's budget per annum, approved through the action of public referendum. Again, I will ask the solicitor my next question. Does this mean that if the council proposes a property tax increase of more than 5% of the prior year's budget, it will need to be put up for a public referendum to pass? Yes, no, no comment, or I don't know.
If you're going to hold me to your time, no comment.
Thank you. When I check the earned income tax projection done by PFM found on the upperdarby.org website, it states, quote, based on an estimated 2023 employment and earnings, an earned income tax in Upper Darby would return approximately $17.9 million at a 1% rate. 1% rate is what you passed 2 weeks ago. When I check the 2025 proposed amended general fund budget, I see a budget of approximately $88 million for 2024. 17.9 divided by 88 is 20%. So even with some room for error, we are talking about an increase in the tax rate of over 3 times the requirement for a referendum when it comes to property tax increases. Given this incredible disparity, my question for you all is this, and I'm going to ask you one at a time. Do you think that council passing a tax increase equivalent to more than 15% of the budget, despite the code already stating the need for a public referendum for property tax increases at 5%, 1/3 of this amount goes against the spirit of the law? And I'd like to start from the left. Next. I don't care. I want public comment. Next. No comment.
I voted no on this for precisely this reason.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you for your comments. I voted no, and
Next.
Stand with that.
I voted yes for it, and I will vote yes for it moving forward.
And do you believe it violates the spirit of the law?
I didn't quite hear your question. It was really fast.
Do you think that council passing a tax increase of more than 15% of the budget, despite the code already stating the need for a public referendum for property tax increases at 5%, 1/3 of this amount goes against the spirit of the law?
I'm not a lawyer, but what I would say is I'm voting
Yes,
for the
no,
earned
please respect
income
my
tax.
time.
I'm voting for the earned income tax when it's brought
Yes,
forward.
no, no comment, or I don't know.
No comment.
I voted yes originally, and I'm still going to vote yes on this as well.
It's not a question of voting. It's the question of violating the spirit of the law.
Like I said, I voted yes before. I will be voting yes again.
Okay, I'll take that as yes.
I voted no, and I will always vote no because I do believe it violates the law.
Great. I'm the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Anthony Williams. Next speaker is Anthony Williams.
Is Anthony Williams here? No, it's Senator Anthony Williams is not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Next
speaker.
next speaker is Richard A. Bly.
Start your timer. Can anyone on council tell me what today is? Can anyone on council tell me what today is? Can anyone on council tell me what today is? Today is Emancipation Day, Washington, D.C., where over 3,000 slaves were freed by an order of President Lincoln. And some of the plantation owners were compensated for their loss of property, not to be confused with Juneteenth. The 6th District is in trouble. Specifically Clover Lane. You have a playground in the area. It is the heart of where I champion. Is the playground that I clean. Suck your teeth again. Suck them again hard into the mic. All I said, it is the heart of where I champion, where I feed the children before COVID, where I teach the lessons of their lineage, where I stand for them. You want to suck your teeth at me, I will be at that playground for your cleanup, and you can talk to me, Mr. Banto, because you know that this voice ain't worried about you sucking no teeth when it comes to the children in my district. You can stop the clock now.
Thank you. Next is Jay Mays.
I don't really know if you guys have the answer to this, but when are they opening up State Road where it meets Westchester Pike and connects to Philly?
CEO, that's something we can have someone from the team connect with Ms. Mays on and all of council, especially the members at large.
Afterwards, you're saying? Okay, just want to make sure it's been like 2 months, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Stephanie Nottingham.
Hello, council. I also want to talk about State Road. Some time ago, Judge Josh had a program where juvenile delinquents would clean up the streets instead of their parents being charged a fine. And he worked with Danielle Blackwell, and I was walking my dog one day and I saw her doing it. So the next time they did it, we cleaned up. And I spoke about this previously, okay? So we cleaned up twice. And after that, it got messy. This is before the street was blocked off because of the golf thing happening. But Danielle and I went back to that area and we cleaned it up. And it's staying clean because there's no trash being thrown out the window. We took pictures. So it's not the residents that's dirtying up that street. It's the people that drive back and forth throwing trash out the window, furniture and whatever. Also, I said there should be a sign put up there, you know, before they open it up so we can try to keep that area clean, okay? Also, what is the job? Laura, have you ever been on a government and law committee in the last administration? You was on a government and law committee, right?
There's council committees. Are you speaking?
What is the job of the people that, also the code enforcement committee? Were you on that committee?
Ms. Nottingham, are you
Okay,
giving-
because I know
would you like
people.
Councilor
people-
Wentz to answer your
Yeah,
questions?
absolutely.
You have to give her a
I
chance to answer your
paused.
questions, okay?
I paused.
Councilor Wentz?
I've been on a variety of council committees.
Specifically, the code enforcement and the government and law committees.
The Government and Policies Committee, yes, I have been on
Okay, so
it.
you make ordinance for people to follow, right?
All council members can bring
But you were
forward
the
an
chair,
ordinance.
were you the chair of the code enforcement committee? Were you ever
It's
that?
not code enforcement specifically, it's government law
And
and
you made
policies.
ordinance, did you create ordinance for the people to follow?
All of council does.
Okay, so you know about ordinance within the city.
It's a township, but yes.
Okay, so that proves my
We
point.
all
When I-
know about them.
Yeah, but specifically, I don't have no problem with them. I have a problem with you as my neighbor. Also, what do we do with the trees that are destroying people's homes? What do we do with the trees that I sent out an email back in January 7th to committee people, and I didn't get an answer, but I got an answer from council. What my neighbor, not only is my house being destroyed, but my next door neighbor that lives next door to her home, her roof is being destroyed. Okay, I'm a concerned citizen. I pay taxes. I've been here for 28 years. I bought my house 28 years ago. I gave this township over $250,000. Okay. So my voice, my life, and my family matter. And with the snow shoveling, who was shoveling snow at 3 o'clock in the morning? And I paid the kids last time to shovel the snow. And I have a snow blower.
Thank you. And next is Jean Kosha. That's it.
Good evening, everyone. Just real quickly, I work at the library at Upper Darby Township Library in Municipal Road, and I'm here to talk about a program we have coming up. I specifically work with teens, and we have a teen advisory board. They're having a spring fling on April 26th from 2 to 4, and they're going to have all kinds of activities for children, you know, giant bubbles, making flower crowns, all kinds of crafts and games. It's a lot of fun, and I just want to let the residents know about it, and I'd like to invite anybody from council or administration who'd like to attend 2 to 4 on Saturday, April 26th.
Sorry, is this at the Bywood Municipal Library?
Bywood Avenue, yes, 501 Bywood Avenue. It's put on by the teens. The teens are an amazing group of leaders. They come together, they plan it, they prepare all the decorations, they prepare the library, and they lead all the activities. So this same group of teens, along with another leadership group at the library, went to Harrisburg this past week. Through the generous donation of 3 different Upper Darby professional firefighters, and then a couple of other individual citizens who donated, we were able to take a bus and see Representative Curry, Representative Boyd. They were introduced on the House floor, had their picture taken. They had lunch with the representatives, and Speaker McClinton even came and had lunch with them and talked to them for about a half an hour, answered their questions, and really inspired them. It was just an amazing event. I'm so proud of them. They did a great job. They are there, they went to Harrisburg to advocate for libraries and to learn about the legislative process. And so I'd just like to acknowledge the hard work that they do, and I would hope that at least maybe some of you could come to their event and see what they're actually doing on the ground. They made a brochure to share with the legislators. And fortunately, that has actually kind of moved up the chain, and is going all the way to the senior staff of the Department of Education, Pennsylvania Department of Education. So our teens' voices are actually being heard in Harrisburg. I'd actually like them to be heard here too, and I'd like you guys to have a chance to really talk to them. So if you have a chance to attend, please do. You'll see great future leaders doing really good things for our community, for everyone in our community. So thank you, and I'm going to just leave these with you if you can share them and post them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the residents that shared your public comment tonight. The next item on the agenda is our approval for minutes. Request for council to approve the April 2nd, 2025 council meeting minutes.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilor Wagner.
Second by Blackwell.
Seconded by Councilor Brannis. There's a motion and second on the floor. Is there any discussion from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes. The next item on the agenda, The next item on the agenda is Resolution 1025, 223 South 69th Street Land Development. In the previous council meeting, we received a presentation based on the land development. Since we've already went through that process, is there a motion on the floor for Resolution 1025, 223 South 69th Street? Motion made by Councilor Bantel. Is there a second on the floor?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Wagner. There's a motion and second on the floor. Is there any questions or concerns from council here?
Are there any,
I'm sorry,
my bad.
the time and council, we do have the applicants here and some members of the administration, but I didn't foresee them speaking. Councilor Wentz, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just curious if LNI or zoning has any, or the township really has any problems with the variances that they're asking for.
Mr. Chass, if you'd like to provide a comment for Councilor Wentz.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wentz. No, we don't have any issues with the variances. We're actually very happy with how the applicant has worked with us. We think for the bike racks, right, we like bike racks, but we'd rather see the trees. So we would definitely support that. Preliminary final for a plan of this size makes perfect sense. And I know there was one other, but I don't believe we or the planning commission had issue with that. Oh, the right of way, right. That's kind of a non-issue as well for us. So we would support all the waivers, as would the planning commission. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Does that conclude your comments, Councilor Wentz?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Are there any further comments from members of council? Seeing none. Secretary Billups?
Yeah. I thought we were, because I don't know if anybody else asked this question or got the email. Weren't we supposed to get the email with their information?
With their contact.
With the developer's information?
We got,
So that's,
I don't know.
okay. Is, I receive, I believe, the contact of the developer and or engineer, I believe, or the landlord? I'm sorry, the property owner.
I can talk to him later. Because I don't want to extend the meeting any longer, but if you, I can give you a
What we'll
card.
do is, we'll send that contact information to Josh, and then Josh, you can send it out to all the members of council, please.
Yeah, if we can get that sent out during this meeting,
Yeah,
because that was asked in the previous meeting.
in the previous meeting. I didn't get it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions, comments from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor of resolution 1025?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you, council, and we look forward for those contacts. The next item on the agenda is the Honorable Mayor Brown. I believe the CAO will be giving his report.
One question though. The resolution we just passed, in the past, when there are variances, we specify that we're approving all the variances
Yes, that
specifically. And that wasn't included in your motion. I just want to make sure that we don't have to
Included in the
come back
motion
to
or-
it.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. I apologize.
Sorry. In the past, when we've passed land developments that have variances in them, we specify that we're also approving all the variances as well. Because sometimes, depending on the situation, they need clarification that each of the variances were also approved.
Yes, and we usually add that to the resolution.
Correct, but we didn't, in the motion, it wasn't stated including all the variances. So,
Okay, can we restate the motion to include that we're approving all variances?
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I'm sorry.
I think it was Councilwoman Wagner and.
Yes.
I think I seconded it.
Okay.
Councilor Bento, can you just make the motion including that we're approving all the variances?
Yes.
Okay, and a second by Councilor Wagner?
Yes.
Thank you, Secretary, Councilor Wentz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Honorable Mayor Brown.
The mayor did not have a report to make tonight, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, CAO. The next item on the agenda is the President Council, myself. I'd like to hello, residents and my colleagues on council, members of the administration. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for their continued engagement and commitment to the process of filling the 5th District vacancy. In the previous meeting, we discussed ranking our top candidates from a pool, and interviews were held accordingly. A few members expressed interviewing all applicants. Other members also expressed moving forward with the process as initially outlined. And I also didn't hear from some members at all. So based on member schedules and the feedback we received, I believe the best approach that I can encourage moving forward is if we can make sure each council members has all the information for each applicant. And if council members can individually reach out to applicants with any questions, those that we interviewed as well, if you want to follow up. Just want to make it clear that all 5 applicants will be on the agenda. And any one of the 5 applicants, and I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong, any resident of the 5th District can be nominated to fill the vacancy. One of the residents correctly stated that we discussed that we were going to vote on this in the April 16th meeting. However, we received information from our solicitor encouraging us, advising us to introduce it as a resolution and then vote on it at the subsequent meeting. So it will be introduced in the March 7th meeting and voted on May 7th. I apologize, May 7th. I would also like to extend a sincere thank you to our Chief Municipal Clerk Kate and our Director of Administration Eric for their support in organizing the interviews via Zoom. Their coordination made the process run smoothly and efficiently, and I'm grateful for their work behind the scenes. In terms of committee updates, as promised, I'm making some updates to some committees. I've appointed Councilor Minnick as the chair of the Finance Committee and added Councilor Brandis to the committee as well. I will also update the committees following the appointment of the new 5th District Councilor. Lastly, I would like to share that our next council meeting is Wednesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. We encourage residents to attend or tune in as we continue to work on behalf of Upper Darby Township. Thank you all for your dedication. The next item on our agenda is our Chief Administrative Officer, Crandall O. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and Council, the first item is Resolution -925 for the FY25 capital budget and 5-year capital plan. It's a request for the public hearing and for council to approve the resolution approving the capital budget for 2025 and the plan for 2025 through 2029. As you know, the 2025 budget amount is $13,671,459. The 5-year plan amount is $69,472,135. We've shared and presented on multiple occasions information regarding the projects, both by department, by funding source, as well as project descriptions that we submitted to council. The budget, it contains funding from various sources, including federal, state, capital reserve, liquid fuels, sewer as well. And Diane is here if there are any questions that you have specifically about any of the projects and activities listed for 2025 throughout the 5-year period.
Thank you, CAO. And then because this is for the 5-year capital plan, even though we're voting on this by resolution, I have to do a public hearing. So is there a motion on the floor to open? And my colleagues have been really tough on me, and they really want me to make sure this is kept to the fiscal year 2025 capital budget and 5-year capital plan. So I'll now ask for a motion to open, a motion on the floor to open up a public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Wentz, seconded by Councilor Wagner. All in favor? All right. If there's any member of the public that would like to comment on fiscal year 2025 capital budget and 5-year capital plan.
In terms of funding these goals, do we have an estimate on when we should be filing for a credit rating so we would be able to possibly finance some of these with lower cost bonds, municipal bonds?
We've been talking, the mayor, finance folks, and myself met with our financial advisors. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And so we're working to try to get this done over the summer. Is what we're hoping to do. And part of what that entails, we're putting some policies in place. We're also very actively involved in the search for a finance director as well.
So is there then, I know there's not holding you to, is there an ETA of when we would be reviewed by the rating agencies, when they would possibly give us, if they'll give us a rating, and then we would know what it would cost to finance this with municipal bonds?
I can't give you an ETA because, their schedule is their schedule once we make the application. I couldn't say, but I do know that given our financials, that even if we don't have a rating, we could do a borrowing. It'd be better to have a rating, but we're going to have to see based on once we make the submission to the rating agencies in terms of what their schedule is for reviewing and meeting with us.
Thank you. We do, especially because we can't just float some bonds.
Sorry, Mr. Damasi. Can we just please keep it down? Mr. Damasi has the floor. Apologize.
No problem. So because we can't just float a bond tomorrow. And these are some very ambitious projects. $69 million is a lot of money. What kind of cuts are we considering elsewhere that we can then shift get rid of certain expenses or lower expenses elsewhere that we can then dedicate to the capital improvements that aren't going to be funded by federal grants, state grants, items like that, where the money that has to come from the taxpayers?
Well, the $69 million, again, is a 5-year figure. And so over the course of those 5 years, we'll be looking at those things. But what's on the table now and what would probably be the immediate borrowing, we wouldn't go out and borrow $69 million.
Right.
We're going to try to borrow what we think and anticipate for maybe the next couple of years. For some of the projects, because of the capital funding we already have in hand, borrowing may not be necessary quickly. Because we do have some funds on hand from capital reserve grant monies that are already there. And so we've made an estimate based on what we think we can expend over the course of the next 2 or 3 years related to those projects. And at the appropriate time, we'll do the borrowing.
So there's no cuts planned right now anywhere or cost shifting or anything to support those expenditures?
Those expenditures were estimated and made with the budget that was adopted in mind. And so given those expenditures, that we're not looking at any operational cuts because these are capital items.
Well, just because whether they're capital items or any other item, all the money apart from grants, federal grants, which is still coming from taxpayers, is going to come from the Upper Darby taxpayers. And you can't, even though I'm not many of these capital improvements are absolutely necessary. But you can't just keep saying, okay, we're going to just keep taking more and more, such as with the EIT, and then keep going back to that same well and just keep spending more and more, whether it's capital reserve or anything. You're going to have to make some cuts somewhere. The fact that you've got to be able to come up with some cut somewhere that says, okay, this capital improvement is more important than this item over here. If not, then what the capital budgets are just spending plans. There's no budgeting. It's just throw whatever you want on there and screw it. We'll get it from the taxpayers come hell or high water, and we're going to spend. There has to be some restraint. And I don't think that there is. Again, I'm not saying that some of these aren't necessary, but $69 million when outside of the EIT, you're looking at deficits, there has to be some fiscal restraint. There has to be some financial responsibility. I'm not seeing any. Like, we all have to make cuts to our lives when you take more money out of our pockets. Especially, I'm sure everybody up here, if I went person by person, I will speak for all of you, probably say you're against the tariffs, but you're for the EIT. You can't be for one and against the other because they both take money out of our pockets, right? It's the same end result. So I would ask, you're all going to pass this, just like you're all going to put Myron McNeely on the board. Please take some time, make some cuts, look for places where maybe you can defer until we have a credit facility which is much more palatable, like long-term municipal bonds, and say maybe we can defer this, because otherwise the only place that you're going to get it is from the taxpayers all at once. I understand over 5 years, right? But you could throw out a 30-year municipal bond, and people will, if we have a good rating, pay a lower interest rate and spread that out over 30 years versus a crunch on the residents over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Thank you.
Are there any further residents that would like to comment on fiscal year 2025 capital budget and 5-year capital plan?
Good evening, Mike Hempel. To his point, okay, making cuts. I think that's a great idea, okay? I spoke to a friend who has a friend. He works in a municipal garage fixing, I guess, police cars, maybe municipal vehicles. And he said that if there's 5 people working in that garage, so which is if they work 8 hours, it's a 40-hour day. He said he'd be lucky if you got 10 to 15 hours out of those 5 people, okay? I don't know if the number of people is exact or precise, but my point is we can't have guys not doing work. You know what I mean? So I think in terms of finding efficiencies in our budgets, there should be cameras in these shops, and just we should know what these guys are doing in the course of their days. I heard guys going to the bathroom.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude and cut you off, sir, but this is only in regards to the fiscal year 2025 capital budget.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is you need to find ways to make cuts, like this gentleman's saying, and finding ways to find efficiencies to find those cuts. You got to look around. You can't walk around with your eyes closed and have people getting paid and not doing anything. That's all I have to say. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Are there any further are there any further members of the public that would like to comment on fiscal year 2025 capital budget and 5-year capital plan? Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment on resolution 925?
Hi, I'm just wondering, why the numbers are so disparate every year, 13 million, 31 million, 12 million. And in administration services, you have 274,000 and 486,000 and nothing, then 1.9 million. What's that? Why is it so different every year?
So there are certain departments, for instance, administration, HR, that might not be a good one because we did a software project, but there are certain departments that have more critical capital needs, whether it be vehicles, equipment, sewers, that kind of thing, than other departments. And so you'll have disparate numbers because most departments don't have capital needs. The other thing is, as we identified and went through the budget process of identifying a five-year plan, part of the process was sitting with all of the department heads and ultimately with council as we discussed what's most important to get done now by department, within departments, and then we certainly had to try to manage over the course of the year. So there was a lot of give and take about, hey, a lot of people wanted to do everything, for instance, in year one or year two.
Sure.
Do we really need to do that in year one, year two? And so we spread it out. Some of the other things, like in year one, for instance, let's take, for instance, the community center. In year one, there's probably a smaller amount of money because we know we're gonna be doing the engineering, architectural piece, then the construction will pick up. So it kind of depends on the floor of the projects that are on the table.
Okay, and you know that in 5 years, you're gonna need 1.9 million in administrative services that you didn't need in year 4 or year 3?
But because you're looking
But
at.
that's a lot of money.
Right.
But yeah, you can't spread that out because I'm sorry for the people in
Again,
5 years
part of-
because their tax is gonna go up a lot.
Yeah, part of the process again is that whole borrowing process. So a lot of this, as we start look at putting together a package, let's say we did a facility like the a community center. So the borrowing around that would be like, for instance, over 40 years if you can do it, as opposed to a vehicle, which might be 5 years, as opposed to a fire truck, which might be 10 years. And so the package are gonna look different for a lot of different things, but the cost of the borrowing is gonna be something that we're gonna stage to be constant. So there won't be surprises. Like one project is we're not gonna spend $1 million like for the administrative services necessarily in that year, but it might be $1 million project.
1.9 million.
Right, 1.9 million.
That's a lot of money. And administrative, it's not even a fire truck. It's
Well, but there are systems and software and stuff that
expensive
that
software.
every department has.
So then my other question too is, as far as the ARPA money that you moved all into capital funds and so forth, is that reflected in this?
Yes, as a matter of fact, ARPA funds, like I said, we got grant funds, ARPA funds.
So-
the ARPA funds is now, moved to capital reserve, et cetera, but it's in there. It's in a part of these projects.
And you're going to use that the way that you were told to use that by the court?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Absolutely.
I believe you. Very good.
Yeah, now you're good. I was waiting.
And this is just speaking of the dollar amounts. I may have missed it, but is there any specifics to these spendings for each department, like what it is specifically?
That in terms of getting the estimates, we knew based on asking the professionals in what it is, for instance, the community center. You want to build, let's say, a 9,000 square foot community center, what's the going rate? Our engineer could calculate that based on
Right.
what it. And so all of these things are based on estimates that we got related to the products or services.
Yeah, no, I get their estimates, but is there a listing of what it actually, like, so when you look at Public Works, 19 million, right? Is there anything that has a
Yes.
detailed that's
We
published already?
We provided the council with the list of all of the projects and the project descriptions related to the budget.
But is that published for the public?
I'm happy to make it available.
Okay,
It should have been. I think it's already on the website.
Is it? I didn't know if it is
Yeah,
or not. If it is,
Sorry, and just to give you an idea, it's descriptive and it goes to the previous speaker's question. It breaks down the proposed amount and the use.
okay, thanks.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on resolution 925.
I just have a few questions. I'm not too familiar with all this. So I see that the fire budget is going down. What does that entail? What falls under that?
This is referring to the capital budget, but the CAO, he
I'm
has
not
a
sure what the
question
question
regarding
is.
the amount.
It says the fire department, presumably. So their budget is going down by a very large margin. Do you?
Capital budget.
So the cost of, of doing like a project, like a fire truck or whatever that budget is, in 1 year, you're gonna spend more and you're actually spending that project down. So it would naturally go down if we decided we were gonna buy a truck, a new fire truck, for instance. So the way that works is you get with the company that's gonna build a fire truck and they're gonna say, we want half of it because it's gonna take X amount of years. Maybe 2 years to build this fire truck. And before they will commit to building the fire truck, they've got to have a substantial amount of money. Well, after that, we'll be paying less on that fire truck as it gets built. So that'll go down. And the project just, what you see reflected is the project either being completed or being, spent down to be completed.
All right. I also see in the general department that the budget goes up by 7 million next year.
Which department?
General department. That's what it's labeled as. It's 500,000 today and or this year, and then it's 7.5 million next year. Goes down to 7 million.
I'm sorry, Councilor Showers, you just want to talk about the
No,
difference
I
between
just wanna
capital.
try to explain. I
Yeah.
think that, I think maybe the confusion is okay. So this isn't our operational day-to-day budget. So
Yeah.
basically, like what municipal authorities will do sometimes is
Yeah.
they'll take out a large bond and they'll use like a bond or they'll use funding to purchase new equipment or build a building or something like that. This doesn't, it's not the same as the day-to-day budget. It's matter of fact, like if you're familiar with like the property tax.
Yeah.
There is, okay, so there's the general property tax.
Yeah.
Which is, that goes to the operational budget. And then there's what's called like the sinking tax, which is like behind it, that smaller number on the millage rate. And that basically goes back to bond replacement or basically paying back these bonds. And what they do every 5 years is they'll create a bond plan or like, so for larger expenditures, but it's not the same as like the operational budget, of like a department. Like, so the fire department isn't going to not spend any money for the next 4 years. They're going to have an operations budget that they always have. But say this year, we're going to build like a ladder truck. We're going to need to, like he said, we're going to need to take out money to purchase said ladder truck. Because if you did that with their operational budget, right, you would really not have any money left in the operational budget. So you can't, they have to be kind of separated, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to explain, because it seemed like maybe there was a disconnect there. And I know I've experienced a similar disconnect at one time or another. So I just wanted to see if I could clarify that for you somewhat.
All right.
I hope it did.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. If you conclude your remarks, I just was going to ask the CAO if there's any way, if we can, when we post the proposed that you sent to council, if you can put the.
Is that on the website?
It is on.
Yeah.
If you can add the difference or the definition of the
Yes.
capital budget.
Absolutely.
President Tunis?
To get that clear. Just want to see if there's any more speakers. Are there any more speakers regarding the public that want to comment on resolution number 925?
Joanne Amavong. Yeah, so if anybody wants to see like the details of where they came up with these numbers, if you go to the website to finance, then budget, it's the very first budget thing. And then it actually shows you all the different projects that they're, wanting to do, by year. So you can get more detail.
Thank you. Are there any more comments on resolution 925? Are there any more comments from the public on resolution 925? Are there
No.
any more comments from the public on Resolution 925? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to
I'll
close.
make a motion to close
Motion
public comment.
motion made by Counselor Wagner. Is there a
Second by
Seconded by
Blackwell.
Counselor Blackwell. Is there a motion on the floor to approve Resolution number 925? Motion made by Counselor Banto. Is there a second on the
Second by
floor?
Blackwell.
Seconded by Counselor Blackwell. Motion and second on the floor. Any comments from members of council? Counselor Blackwell, I know you had your hand up first.
I do. I just want to comment that, for the
Okay, can
operational
we just
budget,
time?
pardon?
No, I'm sorry. You have the floor.
For the operational budget, it focuses on the current day-to-day expenses such as the salaries and office supplies, such as Counselor Silva stated. And the capital budget is, on the other hand, it focuses on the long-term investments and strategic goals. Just to make that clear, that's what it is. I just wanted to add to what Counselor has stated.
Thank you, Counselor Blackwell. Counselor Wentz?
Yes, thank you. I was just curious, I know that, sorry. I know that in the past, when we approved ARPA funds, that I believe that there were funds set aside for smoke detectors. I know our fire department has a program for free installation of smoke detectors in the homes in our township. I was just curious if that's still happening. And are there funds in here for that, or are we doing another source for that project?
I'll let Chief respond.
As my time ticks away. Tick, tick, tick.
So our smoke detector program is pretty much funded these days by the Red Cross. We've partnered up with them. We install the detectors when somebody calls, but we also operate a program that'll be this coming weekend where we go to a neighborhood and we do six blocks and install multiple detectors in conjunction with the Red Cross. So it's not a budgeted item. If that was to dry up, it would appear back in the budget again, but we're well supplied with smoke detectors and they keep replacing them as long as we keep installing them. So
Great. I just heard from residents that ran into some problems getting them from you guys, so it must have been just a disconnect in the communication.
absolutely, if you
So-
call my office, Justin will schedule the installation. We do not hand them out.
No, I know you guys come and
We
install it,
install them,
absolutely.
right. Some people think that we're just going to give them.
No,
It doesn't happen.
No, I know that you guys go in and install
Certainly
it.
reach out to my office and we'll rectify whatever that discrepancy is.
Okay. And there was also a concern that, that it only applied to certain parts of the township, but I believe it's a program for every resident in the township. And,
Anybody that calls, we will come install the detector. When we do these targeted areas, we
Yeah.
work in conjunction with the Red Cross and we pick areas that we haven't done before.
Right.
So this upcoming area is the lower end down by Powell Lane, and even on the Milbourne side, they're going to do that neighborhood as well.
Gotcha.
And that's a 4 or 5 hour event and probably about 40 volunteers leaving from Cardington's firehouse and then coming back to eat lunch later.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
Does that conclude your comments? Counselor
Yeah,
Wentz?
that was a concern.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from members of council? Seeing none.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Counselor Wagner.
Second by Blackwell.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you all. The next item on our agenda is the application for Pennsylvania DCNR peer grant, which I believe we have to match $1,800. We introduced this in the previous meeting. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second by Blackwell.
Motion made by Counselor Wentz, seconded by Secretary Billups. Is there any questions or concerns from members of council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes. The next item on the agenda is a short presentation regarding the Upper Darby Community Center site, followed by some questions from members of council.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask the intermunicipal engineer to come up, third-party engineer to come up, Cal Hassan with Panoni, to take council through the presentation.
Good evening, Council President, members of council,
and CEO Jones. Let me just get my notes. So I'm here tonight to just recap how we got to this point, and then go through the park that we have chosen as part of the evaluation that we had completed. If you could, please. So Upper Darby Township Community and Economic Development Department had identified 10 potential sites for a new township community center. If you recall, back in November of 2024, my colleague and I came here and prepared a quantitative evaluation to determine which site was most valuable, most suitable.
I'm sorry, did you say quantitative or qualitative?
We did a quantitative. We did evaluation on both. We did quantitative and we did qualitative.
Can you just refrain for questions for the end? And please speak and recognize Mr. Pannoni.
So back in November 2024, we prepared a quantitative evaluation to determine site was most suitable. The analysis considered transportation, land use, equity, zoning, property ownership, and also the size of the site. That analysis had identified the Beverly Hills Recreation Area, also commonly known as Marshall Field, as the highest ranking site. A qualitative comparison of the Beverly Hills Recreation Area and the Delaware County Memorial Hospital, the second highest ranking site, reinforced that the Beverly Hills Recreation Area as the most appropriate site. The Beverly Hills Recreation Area has access to public transportation, pedestrian infrastructure, and also a bicycle trail. I do have a PowerPoint. As part of the PowerPoint, I'll show you some of the trail. Some of it is taking place as part of this potential site, and there's also the Nailers Run trail that we're working on that traverses the site. And the site is additionally within a park owned by the township and comprises of just about 20 acres. It is all undeveloped space. Currently is being used partially by Public Works, and there are a couple of baseball fields. With that, if you could please, this is what we anticipate to see as part of the concept plan. We took the site of this park, and I just overlaid on it potentially what could potentially happen on it. Please pay attention to the upper portion of the site that delineates the existing floodplain area. That also encompasses the floodway. As you can see from the proposed improvements, starting from the left, bottom left, there's an existing parking lot we're proposing to improve. We're proposing a new parking lot right above that, a potential 9,000 square foot community center building. Immediately to the bottom of it, there's a proposed playground. And then if you go to the right of it, there's potential bocce court, pickleball court, and then on the far right-hand side, there's a multi-purpose field. This makes the perfect community center proposal that any community can really wish for. And this site just qualifies for it. If you could please, move the next one. So what happens next if council is going to entertain looking at the site as we move forward? We need to identify funding sources. Obviously, some of the funding sources include grants, the RACP, loans, and then other mechanisms. Currently, the township has secured $4 million in RACP funds. There's allocated $3 million in the capital reserve. There's $1 million in the LSA grant. LSA is a local share grant. And there's $1 million HUD of the Green Roof grant. These are grants that are currently secured, and the township has them in their possession. And then after that, what happens is we need to prepare a master plan. This master plan obviously relies on community engagement. It's going to take several meetings. It's going to take several hearings. The initial preparation of the plan, modification revisions, and then possibly coming back to rehash some of the points that were taken from all these community feedback that are received, and then determine what the vision of a future community center is going to be. Immediately after that, there's going to be obviously engineered drawings. They're going to have to be prepared, but only after a specific plan has been defined and then ready to move forward. And then after that, there's the bidding and construction. Now, this is only a guesstimate based on our experience with very similar projects. The total estimated cost for this project is roughly anywhere between $15 million, depending on the significance of the improvements. And please keep in mind, as we always have on our projects, you can prepare a master plan. You don't have to build the whole plan all one shot. You can always phase it out. We'll phase it out in a way where it makes a lot of sense for the township, for the community, and also as a functionality of the community center. With that, I answer any questions you have for me.
Yes, I would just start. It's more of a comment than a question. So mainly for the constituents in my district and neighboring. So I did talk to the CAO regarding the previous site,
Yes.
which is a big eyesore in my district. And I did request that we have some form of a solution on that moving forward. And I know the administration's going to work on that and bring that back to the township council, but I just wanted to inform the residents of the 7th district, because that was a great concern with this being moved. Obviously, I don't want to see it moved from my district, but I do believe this is a way to compromise.
Yeah, and if I might add, one of the things that we're doing in that respect for that the former site, part of we notified you guys about the Urban Land Institute being in town for a couple of days last week, working with a bunch of folks in the community and the staff as well. Is that they toured that existing site, and what they're going to be bringing to us is some immediate recommendations of how we can activate that site as soon as possible so that it doesn't remain as an eyesore.
Thank you. CAO, I'm going to start here. Councilor Silva, I just want to go in a row.
So there's several athletic fields that are there presently, and I know that that's used by a lot of youth programs.
Councilor Silva, can you talk closer to the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there's several athletic fields that are currently there, and they're used by several youth programs on weekends and whatnot. Is the redesign, is that going to be accommodating to those groups, or are those groups going to be moved to another area?
What I put together, the multipurpose field, excuse me, the multipurpose field takes into consideration the revamping of the existing fields, and then we'll actually have 2 more on that side, not just 1. It's just a matter of locating them, because sometimes when you have side-by-side fields, it doesn't necessarily work. You gotta back them up. So we need to see how it works out. But the intent is to reestablish 2 fields similar to what was existing right there on the right-hand side.
Okay.
You're not gonna lose them.
Okay, so so that's just kind of like a general layout, even if you put like the fields and then like the bocce or pickleball thing in the middle, or does that have to be separate?
Actually, a multi-purpose field will work out a lot better than what the existing fields are. Not only do we reestablish 2 baseball fields, there's also the opportunity of having a soccer field within. So we will have 3 in 1, rather than just having 1 baseball field on one side and a smaller one on the other side.
Okay. And then, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask at this time, but then, so they're using this as like kind of a sanitation sub-yard. So or do we have a plan to address the equipment from sanitation?
We've definitely been in discussions about that and looking at alternative sites to do that.
Okay. Okay. So it's be done in conjunction, but not here. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that conclude your comments, Councilor Silva?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the brief presentation. My question here has to do with the engineering part of it. So from an engineering standpoint, I believe you already carry out your work and whatever it is. But are we now clear that this is not a flood zone?
Yes, that's a great question. As I had alluded to before, what I'm showing is, I don't have my pointer. What I'm showing, you see the hashed brown lines, the top ones? It says Naylor's Run. That area, that is all floodplain. We are staying completely out of it. And then
Can
once the
you talk
design,
into the mic? Because people can't hear
Sorry.
you.
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could please talk into the mic.
So the floodplain is clearly shown on the top side. I can hear myself better now too. And when we complete the design, we're gonna stay completely out of it. There are setback regulations that we have to comply with. There's a buffering that we have to stay away from. But we're trying to make sure that not even a drop of water comes on this side. Everything is self-contained within the existing floodplain area. And then the field, if the community center is gonna have its own stormwater facilities also. So there's no issues or concerns from a floodplain standpoint. And the design will clearly delineate the floodplain area and wetlands area to stay clear from.
So I'm assuming from what I'm hearing from you, in case of flooding situation, we are out of the wood. Is that what it is?
That is correct. Yes, I am clearly stating you're not gonna have any issues flooding now.
Okay.
Any comments, Councilor Wagner?
Thanks for being here. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank
I
you.
have nothing.
Secretary Billups?
Counselor Banto, stole my thunder. That's okay. It's okay. But I do have a question. I know there are, houses and other property nearby. So, and it's a flood plain, right? That area.
The area, the area to the east of the proposed improvements is all floodplain. It's an existing floodplain,
Right.
correct?
So it's an existing floodplain.
Yeah.
So is there a study that says, like in the past, I don't know if you know this, or maybe someone else can answer this, that's nearby, that if, since in that area, has there been any flooding in that area since it's a floodplain and not a flood zone? Since the past, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years?
So to answer your question, we did look into it preliminary, and there hasn't been any recent reports of any recent flooding. Can we find out? Absolutely. As part of the engineering, as we move forward, that all has to be studied. We will rely on existing studies, but we'll also have to establish our own to make sure that whatever design that we come up with is going to be absolutely suitable and addresses any potential environmental issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. Councilor Wentz?
Thank you. So thank you for this presentation. CA Jones, can we get this updated version with the next steps? Because that was not in our packet.
Sure.
I'm not sure why we keep missing out parts of.
Well, we actually didn't finish it
I would like to take responsibility for that. We're waiting on numbers from my team, and then I rushed it the last second. My apologies. I will make sure that council has it way in advance.
Okay.
Apologize for that.
It's not just you. There've been many presentations prior to this point where we don't have the right information. That's all. And then we had problems in the past when the designs came out for the former site, where the designs weren't actually to scale. And because the plans weren't actually to scale, they did not realize until much later that what they were proposing would not fit on that space. So I just want to verify that when you do plans that they will be to scale. I know that's a much larger space to work with, but still having them to scale will actually give us a better sense of exactly how it's going to fit.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. even with this prelim layout, we had taken initial look at it and it's going to fit, but we will absolutely confirm 100% and be certain that anything that we're proposing is going to go exactly where it needs to go with the dimensions and areas and everything.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I know you were talking about the floodplain and that you're gonna, basically, my understanding from what you're saying is that you're gonna do whatever mitigation you need to do to make sure that there will be no flooding on the site. And you'll do stormwater management, and that's part of what the trees are for, and the greenery, right? To make sure that there isn't future flooding once
Correct.
it's established, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the multi-purpose field, is that going to be grass or is that going to be plastic?
Grass. Everything is natural grass.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And is there a plan to plant more trees and stuff in the area around it to help with the drinking of the rainwater?
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm assuming there's going to be trees. There's going to be some compliant lighting, for safety.
Right.
It's gonna have some good improvements that are code compliant, and I'm sure council is going to give their feedback on the project that we're going to make sure that we implement. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Blackwell?
Yes, thank you. Can you go back to the previous slides, please? Wait,
I think the last one. That's
next slide. No, go back to the beginning so I can see. I'm looking for a particular.
That's it. It's only for.
So there was a slide that spoke about quantitative versus qualitative.
Yes, it's this one. Yes.
Okay, so where it says a qualitative comparison of the Beverly Hills Recreation Area. And I do thank you,
Yes.
the presentation, and I do support this project.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, why didn't we use quantitative or mixed use comparison as compared to use qualitative? Usually when you're using qualitative is based on the lived experience or a phenomena.
Yes.
And you don't have to answer this question now, but we use qualitative as compared to not quantitative comparison.
I actually used both.
You did use both? Okay.
Yes, I used quantitative in the first paragraph, the third line.
Okay, I
and
see.
I
So the
used
quantitative
qualitative in
evaluation.
the second line.
And we didn't do mixed use because that would be combined, right?
Correct. So we go by a criteria that was set by some other entity. DCED sets up the criteria how you evaluate such sites. And in order for us to go and get some funding from them, we need to assure them and demonstrate that we follow the criteria that they follow.
Okay.
And they study many different counties. And based on the studies that they come back with and give us feedback on, they say these are the best mechanism used to identify a site to, compare, contrast, and then make a determination what site is the most feasible and the most qualifying. But if you go, I don't know if you saw our original report, the one we submitted, it was about 18, 19 pages. If you go through the individual ones, I believe the qualitative does include the various mixes, if you will.
Okay.
Yes, if that clearly breaks it down. It is part of the qualitative
Okay. Component.
yes.
All right. Thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
but it's a great question.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Councilor Blackwell. Sorry. Councilor,
Yeah, if everyone spoke, I just wanted to ask a follow-up question.
yes, Councilor Silva?
Could we go back to the slide with the map?
Yeah.
Super. Okay, so there is, there's a group, Upper Darby Trails, that has been kind of clearing, and I think that this trail has been sort of in existence before. But along Nailers Run, there is a trail that basically comes in next to the Barclay Square Apartments, follows back behind this field. And I don't assume there's any plans at this time to do anything to enhance that trail. But if later on that trail is enhanced, like to say perhaps be paved or something else, would that impact your floodplain analysis in any way? Or, I mean, I just think it would be beneficial ultimately to connect the township.
Yeah, can we
further.
include it?
So I have with me a copy of the plan we are currently assisting the township with. If I could just come up here, do you mind if I like to illustrate?
Not at
Michelle.
all.
So this one right here, this is part of the Nailers Run trail that we're working on right now. This is under design right now, and it's going to go out to bid very soon.
Okay.
This is the connection from this point right here, from East Marshall, and it goes all the way to Garrett.
Okay.
Okay, so this is existing. What we're showing right here, this is potential new trail network of bringing it back to meet in here. So by code, under the zoning code, under the township, and also DEP and the Army Corps and FEMA, there's nobody that's saying to the township, hey, listen, you cannot run a trail through the floodplain. So we're running it by code in compliance, and there's no effect. So we're gonna make sure it is the best possible connection going through the floodplain and go to the other side. But this is an actual project right now.
Oh, that yellow line there.
Yes, we're working on that right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. All right, cool.
Yes, and this is the plan that I have. I can just leave a copy here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further comments from council. There's no action required at this moment. We'll be moving on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Mr. Pannoni, for that presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members, for those great questions. I actually learned how to drive at that location. So the next item on our agenda is our Solicitor Gallagher.
Thank you, Council President. The two items that I wanted to discuss briefly in my report tonight, first would be the resolution for the appointment of a council member to fill the vacancy. I just want to clarify, if you look to the Upper Darby Charter, the issue that I ran into, in which I was advising that we move this to a resolution, is that under the charter, it simply states that a majority of vote of council would be for the appointment of the vacancy, but it doesn't say what the specific action is, whether that's a motion, a resolution, or an ordinance. It just says majority vote. So turning to the First Class Township Code to ensure that we didn't run afoul of anything, in the First Class Township Code, it does specifically identify what sort of action needs to be taken by a majority of council, and that is a resolution. So that's why I had advised that we move this and make sure that it is done by resolution, so there's no issue about that. Regarding the question about the earned income tax being a referendum, the charter does not include a referendum for the imposition of a new tax. That has to do with the imposition of 5% or more of a real estate tax. With regard to the imposition of a new tax, that is covered under the Local Tax Enabling Act, and under that act, it specifically states that it must be done through an ordinance, not a referendum, not a resolution, no other action. So constrained as we are under the law, that is why that needs to be done through an ordinance. I wasn't going to be rushed in my answer because I believe it's more important that I provide you with a more thorough answer, and that's the reason for that. And that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Solicitor Gallagher. The next item on the agenda is old business. Councilor Wentz.
Thank you. CAO Jones, we've talked in the past about problems that we've had with Passport. And I was wondering if we are still under contract with Passport and what's happening with it.
That's a great question. We are actually in the termination process. Today I actually got a document for them to sign to confirm the termination, but they put the wrong date on it, so I'm waiting. So we're about to be out of business with them totally. And the transfer to the new vendor is underway now.
And then when it's terminated, does that mean we are no longer obligated to pay? Is the contract fully over as of?
I think if there's anything that we have due to them, we will pay it legally if we have anything due to them. But once the exact date of termination is determined, we're done with them.
So we don't have to pay the contract to the end of the year, regardless of when we stop it?
I think we gave them adequate notice. That was the whole point, to give them notice so that we wouldn't be automatically renewed. And so the whole termination was around when we had to give them adequate notice.
Okay. And then I've heard from residents that they're getting Passport is sending out double letters to them. So the first letter that they send out, like if they haven't paid their ticket within the 8 days, they get a letter that says you have a 10-day warning that if you don't pay in these 10 days, that it'll go to court, right? And then, but Passport sends out that letter. But the problem is they're sending out a second letter that says the exact same thing, either 2, 3, 4 days later or 2 weeks later. So if the person gets that second letter, never seeing the first one, they think that 10 days is from the date they received the second one. And then they go in to pay the ticket to find out the township doesn't have it because the township acts on the first letter, and therefore the ticket is already in the courts, and the resident has received a second letter from Passport, and now there's a huge problem. So I just want to make sure that this gets resolved. I understand we're ending the contract with Passport, but they're going to cost us a lot of money if people start suing us for that misrepresentation of the 2 different letters.
I will follow up with the superintendent and the team to find out what's going on.
Great. And then with the new company, if we can make sure something like that does not happen, just since we know that it's happening with Passport, to just make sure that we don't have that problem on the next one as well. The other problem that has come up is that the signage is up for the new system. I know a resident mentioned it, where people think that that's where they're paying to, instead of still paying to Passport. So if there's any way to cover that signage until it's actually active, because otherwise we have a lot of confused people who are trying to pay for the parking but can't because they're going to the wrong system.
All right, I'll talk to the superintendent about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was all that I had.
Are there any members of council that would like to comment on old business? I cannot talk today. Seeing none, moving on to new business. Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
Councilor Wagner, seconded by Councilor Brandis. All in favor? Everyone have a safe